I'm sure you've heard the concept of a soul contract. This is the list of things that you agreed to before you were born, from your soul perspective or your higher self perspective, or even from your source perspective. This video is going to talk about the 3 major things that you agreed to before you were born and how you can use it to guide your life, to understand what is happening to you, and to have an incredible experience here on this planet as you, the perfect being of light that you are. I'm sure you've heard the famous statement, I am Source. This is a very complex concept, but actually can be broken down into just those 3 words. When we say I am Source, we are saying that we are the creator. And everything that we see and everything that we experience, we've created. When we look at life from this perspective, then we start to become less the victim and more the creator of our own experience. The concept that we are the creator is very difficult to get our heads wrapped around because we perceive the world from our very limited 3D perspective. All we can use during this is our senses to guide us and to give us information about what's going on around us. And our senses are very now moment focused. We cannot see the future with our senses, and we cannot see the past with our senses. We can only see, smell, hear, feel, and so on this very moment. And that brings us to the very first of 3 things that we agreed to before we were born. And that is that we would forget that we were Source, that we would forget that we are our higher selves and we are these multidimensional beings, so that we could have this experience exactly as it is. If we knew all the time that we were the creator, that we were infinite, that we could not die, then all the experiences that we have here would take on a lesser impact. But instead, because we don't know for sure that we are Source, because we don't know for sure that we are infinite, we take this world very seriously, and we take this experience very seriously. If you think about it, all the emotional experiences that we have here are really based on survival. I talk about this all the time. Fear is our first emotion, and fear is the survival emotion. It's all about avoiding death and finding safety. Then all the rest of the emotions that we get to have here, which I call the terrestrial emotions, all come from survival. When we are our higher selves, when we are Source, then we have no access to these emotions because we are infinite, because we cannot cease to exist through a process called death. So we come here excited about the idea that we can have these emotions for the very first time. If we knew that we could not die, if we knew every day going through life that we were Source or that we are our higher selves, then we wouldn't necessarily take things seriously. We could walk right to the edge of a cliff and look down and say, yeah, let's just jump off because I know that I'm infinite. But instead, we look down that cliff and we go, oh my gosh, that's really high up. I don't really want to do that. I don't want to get very close to that. And all the rest of the experiences fall in line. And so if we look at our lives in this way, if we look at everything realizing that, actually, you know what? I am infinite, and I don't have to take this quite as seriously. It's a little bit of a relaxer. You can take a breather. You can finally kind of observe things rather than be surrounded by things. I think this is an extremely healthy mental way and emotional way to look at life. Yes, you're still going to take things very seriously. You're still going to accept your emotional experiences, and you're still going to avoid death, and you're going to pursue survival. However, it doesn't have to consume every second of every day. You can finally watch this movie that is life, and you can see yourself as the main character, but also know that this movie is just an illusion, that this is just a temporary experience. And when the movie's over, you get to go back to being your higher self, being Source, the creator consciousness. So I think we've made an incredibly good decision. If you think about it from a video game standpoint, I was a video game producer for 22 years, and I played plenty of video games, and I always looked for, or at least when I was younger, I looked for the cheat codes so I could play the game from beginning to end without having to worry about my character being destroyed. And at first, I would be very excited when I would receive the cheat code and I could play my game that I've been playing for so long and struggling with to now finally be able to play it all the way through without worry. What did I find? Is that it got really boring really fast. So I realized that, well, I would much rather play a game that had challenge to it so that I could feel good about advancing my character. I could feel good about making it to the next level or to the next stage. And that's how we can look at this life. Instead of looking at it like, gosh, I just want to be able to breeze through this. Actually, to accept the emotional experiences, to accept the challenges exactly as they are, because really, this is what we set up for ourselves. And we'll get to that as part 3. The second thing that we most definitely agreed to before we were born was to lose that power. So if we are the source, the master consciousness, and we can snap our fingers and make anything that we want happen, we could go out and we could feed all the hungry children like that. We could house all the homeless all over the world just like that. So why don't we just do that? Well, we could. If we decided to bring our power with us, to bring our source instant power with us. But if we were to do that, then all of a sudden we would make a complete utopia, wouldn't we? And then what? Would everybody have a wonderful experience? Maybe. But they also might have a boring experience. They might also suddenly notice that they were source too, and that they don't really have to do anything, that everything would just be provided for them, or they could also snap their fingers and provide everything for themselves. And so it seems like that would be the better way to go, doesn't it? But I think it wouldn't take long before we would go, well, wait a minute, what's the purpose of even doing this? We might as well just return to being the source consciousness and observe this world that we've created without actually being able to experience it ourselves, because experiencing it ourselves means nothing. If we know that we are source and we can just make anything we want happen, then what fun is that? Or what challenge is that? Or what is the reason for even doing that? And so we have to look at it from the idea that actually suffering is something that we wanted. We wanted to experience suffering, and we wanted to experience success and pleasure. We wanted to experience all the negatives and all the positives, because as source, we don't get to do that. We can't die, remember? So we can't experience these negative emotions. We can't experience suffering as source, the master consciousness. We can't really also, on the same hand, experience positive experiences either. We can't experience romantic love. We can't experience excitement. We can't experience the surprise, because we are the master consciousness. We can choose whatever we want. And so because we are dictating all that exists from that perspective, nothing can surprise us. We can't have romantic love because we can't have a partner to romantically love, because they would be our creation, and we would know everything there is to know about them, and they wouldn't surprise us, and we wouldn't have to win their affections or whatever. So the idea that we not only forgot who we were and lost our power is incredibly intentional. We did this so that we could experience this incredible life exactly as it is. So let's move on to the third thing that we agreed to before we were born. Pretty much all of our experiences. Every person that we meet, every major experience that we have, the different types of suffering that we have chosen for ourselves, and really what our main mission is. We even choose the different challenges that we want to overcome. We choose, maybe we want to have addiction, maybe we want to have trauma, childhood trauma, or abuse. These are the things that you can pinpoint if you look at an astrological chart. I don't talk a lot about astrology, but I'm kind of amazed by it. And if you think about it, all of your different experiences are actually pre-charted out for you. And you can go to an expert astrologist. They can take a look at your chart and they can say, oh, you're likely to have addiction here. You're likely to have poverty here. You're likely to make a whole bunch of money here. They can tell you exactly when these different things are going to happen in your life. They can tell you when you're going to have a relationship, an excellent relationship or a not so good one. So if you think about it from that perspective, then you could plot out your entire life before you're even born based on your astrology chart. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we said, as our higher selves, which character do we want to be in this life? Oh, this one's got some good addiction issues. Oh, this one's got a poverty thing. I'd really like to get over that. I'd really like to see what it feels like to live on the streets and experience a severe poverty experience. Let's choose that one here. Astrology also tells us major events. Oh, in 2020, there's going to be a martial law sort of situation. Wow, I definitely want to see what that's all about. I want to be around for that year. We also choose all the people that we experience and run into. We choose everyone down to the minute, to the cashier at the drugstore or the person that we walk past on the street, but especially our close friends, and even more so, our families, our parents, and all of our parental situations. We chose to be abused by our parents, to have those childhood traumas, or to have amazing parents and instead experience trauma in school or with your bosses or whatever. And this is really important too, and I really love the mental health aspect of this. If you look at every single person you run into as someone that you really wanted to run into, then you can look at them with more awe and excitement. You can greet them with pleasure and with happiness because you know, hey, I wanted to run into you. But what if that person that you've wanted to run into turns out to be terrible? Someone who robs you, or someone who verbally abuses you, or even physically abuses you. You intended for that as well. And I know that sounds very difficult to understand and very difficult to accept for some of you, but it's true. And when you look at it from that perspective, everything has a purpose, and everything has an opportunity for you to grow or to learn the lesson or to accept the experience exactly as it is. Again, another incredible mental health exercise for you. Okay, so running into all the people, having all the negative experiences, everything all plotted out for yourself, and then your life purpose. Your life purpose is an incredible reason to be here, and it gives us so much joy and so much relief when we know that there is actually a life purpose for ourselves. And so one of our missions can be to discover what that is. There's so many different ways to do that. One of the ways that I highly recommend is talking to the master within. And there's a video that I have on that you can watch right here. This may make some of you wonder, wait a minute, what about the concept of free will? The concept of free will still exists and still works in this situation. These different sufferings, these different people that you're supposed to have a romantic relationship with, that isn't necessarily set in stone. All the different possibilities are available to you. So if you decide, or if your life purpose is to help the homeless, there's so many different ways for you to help the homeless. And you can make that choice if you want to, which way you want to do it. Where you live is up to you. But most of all, what's most important is that how you respond to all the situations. That is where your strongest free will is. It's not necessarily which person you're going to meet, but it is definitely how you respond to each situation, each person, whether positive or negative. And that is where you have incredible growth opportunity. So I have to say one more thing, because I'm sure some people are saying, well, wait a minute. If we've plotted out every person we're going to run into and every situation we're going to have, how can you have any free will of choice there? You can. And if you think about it, outside of these limited 3D minds where we look at everything very linearly, we say this happens and then this happens and then that happens, and there's only so many things that we can keep straight. If you think about it, different fiction shows, TV shows, movies, books, if they have too many characters, you have an awful time keeping track of them all because your mind is too limited on that. But we've got to throw away that understanding of that limitation when we move into our higher selves or ourselves as source. There is no limitation like that. We can see every possible person in an instant, and we can see every possible permutation in an instant as well. So if you were to say, okay, I'm supposed to run into that person, I'm supposed to run into that person, I'm supposed to run into that person, that's if we take this particular branch. But if we took a different branch with our free will, then I know that I'm supposed to run into this person, and that person. Then you say, oh, well, that means that then everything is possible, right? No, definitely not. Because you also didn't choose to become a dictator of a communist country. That isn't part of your path. You didn't choose to become maybe a nurse, or you didn't choose to become maybe the manager of a casino. There are many, many, many things that you chose not to do. However, there are plenty of things and plenty of paths that you did choose, and that's what you're experiencing right now. So I hope this helped you understand a little bit more about why we decided to come here, why we decided to give ourselves these limitations, why there is such a thing as suffering everywhere around us and the suffering that we're experiencing as well. We chose it. We wanted it. We wanted the challenge. We wanted the experience, because otherwise it's completely inaccessible. This is going to be one of the few videos that I don't actually have an activation. However, I have plenty of activations throughout all my other videos, and there's one that you can download directly from my website. It's really amazing because it removes the feeling of nervousness before you're about to do something that would normally make you nervous. Our emotions are just frequencies, and so this activation will tune you into a different nervousness frequency. If you're nervous about asking someone out on a date or asking for a raise, we know how that feels, and it can distract us from being confident. It can distract us from remembering what we're supposed to say. But if we tune into a different nervousness experience, one that is considerably less worrisome, considerably less distracting, then we can go forward with confidence and without these negative feelings in our bodies, and we can have the dialogue or we can have the interaction that would normally make us nervous. So I'll provide a link in the description below so you can download that, and you can play it 10, 15, 30 minutes before you're about to do the thing that would normally make you nervous, and you'll find that you just sail right through it with no problem. Thank you so much for participating in this video, for listening to all that I have to say, and I'm very excited because I know how much it can help. Thank you again so much, and I would love it if you subscribed, if you clicked the bell icon, and if you liked this video, all those good YouTube things, because they help me reach more people, and I love to reach more people and help as many people as I possibly can. I love you unconditionally, and I'll see you in the next video.